A 14-story high-rise complex with 156 apartments built in just 51 days. To achieve this ambitious goal, the construction team works day and night in 3 shifts.
In 24 hours, we have to finish 4 apartments and make a start on the next ones.
Constructing at such a speed is only possible if the factory delivers all elements punctually and the on-site crew install immediately.
We only have an hour to install the delivered parts. If it takes us longer than this, it messes up the entire construction schedule.
Something that cannot be planned for, however, is the weather. The construction site is hit by violent gusts.
Okay, that's fine.
Despite the wind, snow, and temperatures dropping to minus 20 degrees Celsius, work has to go on because the huge pop-up construction must be finished in just 51 days. Moscow, the capital of Russia and the largest city in Europe with nearly 13 million inhabitants. And the population is growing by around 10% each year. As in all mega metropolises, finding an affordable apartment in Moscow is nearly impossible. In order to handle the situation, the government has instituted a massive building program. 65 million square meters of new housing are to be developed within the next few years, more than 1 million new apartments. The construction companies are building one new high-rise after the other in record time. Otherwise, this ambitious plan could not be achieved. One of the largest construction sites lies at the southern periphery of the Russian capital, around 30 kilometers from the center of Moscow. The concrete foundations for the high-rise complex are already laid, 72 meters long and 15 meters wide. In just 51 working days, 156 apartments with a total of 9,000 square meters of floor space will be erected here. Construction work is due to start in 24 hours. Project manager Asfan Sufianov is visibly tense. There are still a lot of little things to take care of on the mega building site before work can begin.
We're in the process of preparing the foundations for the initial stages of construction. The workers still have to mark out the positions of all the walls. And we're making preparations for the night shift as well. We're setting up lights everywhere, as we'll have to work in the dark too, of course. Once we've done that, we still have to finish installing the equipment for the welders. Everything has to run smoothly if we want to start construction tomorrow.
Asfan and his team have just 3 days to build each floor, comprising 12 apartments. In order to achieve this, the team uses a special construction technique. This involves joining together wall and ceiling elements on site that have been prefabricated at the factory. The building complex is divided into 3 sections. They only start work on to the next section once the previous section of a story is complete. This allows the workmen from other trades, such as electricians, gas fitters, and plumbers, to work on the already finished areas in parallel. In this manner, the team works their way upwards, story for story. The entire first floor is scheduled to be finished in just 96 hours. Construction manager Asfan has been managing major construction projects for almost 20 years, but this is something special, even for him.
This is a massive project. We're working with large and very heavy parts here. It's no easy feat. The start, in particular, is always complicated. We have to work with absolute precision, or we'll have problems later. Even a single mistake at this stage will cause us major difficulties later on.
The basement and ground floor have been constructed using reinforced concrete. This is a supporting structure, so it has to be especially stable. Tomorrow, the workers will install the very first wall panel of the 14-story high-rise complex directly on top of it. The workers must position the walls with centimeter precision. To guide them, surveyors Vladimir Belishko and his colleague now place over 300 markings.
We have detailed construction plans that we follow. Everything has to be extremely accurate. With the help of the plan, we're now marking all the positions on the foundation. Then everything is precisely defined. The construction workers will use the markings to place the walls. They can't just put them wherever they want, which is why they need our markings.
There's zero room for error. Even the smallest mistake can result in the walls not fitting together properly later on.
The initial marking out is extremely important. These guys have to work very precisely. Only then will the rest of the build work. Any mistake they make at this stage will impact the entire construction.
There's no time to make time-consuming corrections either. After all, this isn't just any construction project. Asfan and his team are planning to erect a 45-meter-tall building here in just 51 days. This is 3 times quicker than for a traditional construction project. The enormous 60-meter-high crane, the most important piece of equipment on the mega building site. It can lift up to 10 tons and travels along the side of the building on rails. So that the crane can reach every corner of the building, the workers have to dismantle the smaller crane and extend the track for the large crane by 35 meters. First, the workers compact the ground beneath the rails. Otherwise, it would sag under the weight of the crane. The workers are under a lot of time pressure. The track has to be ready to go by the time construction starts, so that the crane can begin to lift the first massive wall panels to where they are needed. Alexander Chuganovsky is construction manager Asfan's right-hand man. He too has been building pop-up constructions for almost 30 years.
Now we've got a problem. You shouldn't be removing that. It has to stay there. That should stay there. Why have you moved it there?
Just around 20 hours to go until construction starts. If the crane isn't operational by then, the building site will come to a standstill. A disaster for a pop-up project like this.
Preparations for a project like this have to be perfect. Ideally, all of the parts and equipment should be here a few days in advance. And when everything's ready to go, we can't afford to waste a single minute. We start construction immediately. With a schedule this tight, it's extremely difficult to make good a delay of even a few hours.
Their biggest challenge, the logistics. Only if all the materials are delivered on site in the right order and at the right time will the team be able to complete construction in such a tight time frame.
This is our concrete mixing machine. Sacks are much too small for our needs. So, we work with 5-ton cylinders. One of them lasts us just 24 hours. There's a container filled with cement powder and one filled with water. The two get mixed, and the finished concrete comes out of the bottom.
The fresher the concrete, the easier it is to work with. It starts to harden after just an hour. There's still a lot to do before construction begins. Even now, the team has no time for a break. They work through the night. It's the next morning, 6 hours to go before work starts in earnest. And today, of all days, it's extremely windy, even by Moscow standards. This has construction manager Asfan worried. The crane can't operate in blustery conditions.
I hope the weather doesn't cause us problems. According to the forecast, it's supposed to be windy, but it's not too bad at the moment.
When the wind speed exceeds 15 meters a second, which corresponds to 4.7 on the Beaufort scale, the crane shuts down automatically. Otherwise, there is a danger of cables breaking, or, in the worst case, the crane toppling over. If a storm does develop now, the team will have to postpone the long-planned start of construction. But at the moment, everyone continues working as planned. They still hope to start on time. The delivery of the wall panels has been planned for weeks. A postponement would completely derail the complex logistics.
I'm just carrying out the final checks. I have to check everything, like whether all the equipment is there and if the construction trailers are well stocked.
In the hours that remain, the team still has to set up the equipment, tidy up the site, and finish laying the tracks for the crane. One hour to go until 0 hour. The foundations are prepared. But next to them, things are not looking so good. Almost 10 meters of crane track is still missing. The problem? It's taking a lot longer than expected to compact the earth sufficiently. And until the track is in place, construction of the multi-story building cannot begin.
I want to be finished with everything here in half an hour so we can get on with the rest of the work.
Project manager Asfan summons all available workers. Without the enormous construction crane, they won't be able to lift the walls into place. Five minutes before construction is due to begin. And success. The crane is up and running.
Everything is prepared. All we're waiting for now are the wall sections. Then we can get started.
The start of this giant pop-up construction is underway. In just 51 days, an apartment complex with 156 new homes will be built here, thus helping to alleviate Moscow's housing shortage. The final seconds until construction is due to start. But then, nothing happens. Everything is prepared, but the most important elements are missing. The wall panels haven't arrived yet. You can't construct a prefab building without wall panels.
Some components have already arrived, but only ones we can't use yet, like parts for the ventilation system.
The wall panels and other components are supplied from the factory just in time. This saves on storage, site space, and money. But it's also a risky strategy. The delivery sequence must be strictly followed, and even the smallest of bottlenecks can mess everything up. Like now. The factory is located in the north of Moscow. The workers there began fabricating the walls for the high-rise days ago. They'll be brought to the site one after another. Every truck driver gets a chip card. This tells the workers what parts they have to load and in what order. One risk factor they cannot control is Moscow traffic. The 45-kilometer trip to the building site can easily take up to 3 to 4 hours. It's now early evening. The construction work should have commenced 3 hours ago, but nothing has happened yet. At last, the first of the trucks carrying wall panels arrives. It comes loaded with 4 walls, and the next ones will arrive in an hour. They have to work fast now. The construction process is a bit like supersized Tetris. The concept only works if the team installs the walls at the designated location in time and in the right order. The external walls, complete with pre-fitted windows, are installed first. Then the internal walls, the stairwell, and the prefabricated bathroom, already tiled and fitted with tub. Finally, the workers install the ceiling panels. Hooks are embedded in the walls. The workers use these to attach the walls to the crane. The wall panel is set down on a 10-centimeter thick layer of concrete. This is used to more or less glue the wall in place. It's still extremely windy, but the team doesn't let this slow them down. Just 10 minutes after the truck arrives, they're already installing the first wall. The system only requires 3 workers for the job. Construction manager Asfan has assigned his most experienced workers to this. They've all been with the company for almost 20 years. And this proves to be a wise decision. Despite time pressure and difficult weather conditions, they keep a cool head. There's even time to spare for a Russian tradition.
This is a very old custom. When you build a house, you place a coin under one of the external walls. It's supposed to protect the house against the forces of nature. And it's supposed to bring the people who eventually live in the building riches, happiness, and love, and whatever else they wish for.
With the coin laid, the very first of nearly 1,500 walls is in place. They immediately start on the next. The team wants to make up for the 3-hour delay as best they can. Depending on their size, the panels can weigh between 2.5 and 7 tons. First, the workers set a wall down roughly a line between the markings. Next, they stabilize and set it with alignment struts. In just a couple of hours, once the concrete between the wall and floor has hardened, they then remove the struts and cut off the metal hooks with an angle grinder. Then they make some fine adjustments. Worker Sergei Boychkin checks whether the walls are completely vertical and aligns them with centimeter precision to the markings.
I'm checking the position of the base. The wall has to be exactly 20 centimeters from the markings placed earlier.
Once the wall is perfectly aligned, it's the welder's turn. He joins the wall to the floor, using what they call reinforcing brackets. The holes will be filled in later. Now that the delivery has arrived, things are progressing well.
The only thing that can put a wrench in the works now is the wind. It can happen that we have to stop due to the wind. If it becomes too strong, things can get dangerous.
And the wind has, in fact, gotten stronger in the meantime. Time and again, the construction site is hit by violent gusts. Then, just as they're lifting one of the largest walls, it happens. The 7-ton section is in danger of getting out of control. In the worst case, the rotation could cause the steel cables to snap and the wall to crash to the ground.
Sergei, look out, it's turning. Down, get it down.
Set the wall down here for a moment. We'll lift it over later.
That's good.
The 5-meter-long wall is back under control. But getting it in position is even harder work. It takes a concerted effort to manage it at all. The wall is finally in place. Things worked out okay after all. But if it stays this gusty, they'll have to take a break and lose valuable time. Luckily, the wind subsides a little, and work can continue. By the end of their shift in 6 hours, the workers have to install a further 17 external walls. That's one every 20 minutes.
We have to have the entire section finished in 24 hours and make a start on the middle section.
7-man installation teams work in 3 shifts around the clock and will continue to do so until the high-rise building is finished. They're under enormous time pressure. The majority of the 156 apartments have already been sold. If the team isn't finished on time in 51 days, the occupants won't be able to move in as planned. 49 days remain. The team has made up for the delay at the start. The outer section of the first floor is finished. The external walls of the middle section are already in place. The night shift has just begun. Their task? To install all 22 internal walls of the middle section so that the day shift can then install the ceiling on top of them. The internal walls arrived from the factory during the day as planned. The team stores them until they're needed in specially constructed frames. Shift foreman Sergei Knishkov checks them for any damage caused during transport. A single crack could jeopardize the stability of the entire building.
These elements are for the first floor. They have to be installed before the end of our shift. Then the interior of this section will be finished.
Each panel is marked with a number. The workers compare this number with the structural drawing, which tells them where the wall belongs.
This is 6524. I'm sending it up to you now.
Is it free already?
Yes, yes.
The internal walls are installed according to the same principle as the external walls. Here, too, the workers carefully check the placement of each wall several times. Assembling them is like piecing together an oversized puzzle. If they make a mistake in one place, things won't fit together somewhere else. Only once everything is aligned and fits exactly do they fix the walls permanently in place using brackets and welded joints. At first, installation of the internal walls goes as planned. But then a truck arrives, loaded with external walls. The problem, the team can't store external walls. The bricks on the facade are too delicate and could get damaged. Shift foreman Sergey has to make a change of plan.
The factory has just sent panels for the second story. This means we now have to switch from working on the first floor to the second. We only have an hour to unload the truck. If this takes us any longer, it'll mess up the entire logistics operation.
The truck has to return to the factory as quickly as possible. For the workers, this means dropping everything and making preparations for installing the walls that have just arrived. Despite the unexpected change of plan, the first of the walls is in place, just 15 minutes after the truck's arrival.
We always have our people work in teams with the same makeup. We don't shuffle workers around. Once we're finished here, the entire team will move to the next building site as a unit.
A strategy that pays off, especially in stressful situations like right now.
We have 20 minutes left to install the last two parts.
One of shift foreman Sergey's most important tasks, ensuring that the workers stick to the timetable. They've done it. The truck is unloaded.
Now we have to check that there aren't any gaps and that the walls are all in the correct position.
This is why the workers check the position of each wall afterwards. The concrete hasn't hardened yet, so they can easily make adjustments now that will be impossible in an hour.
You should never rush things. With parts weighing several tons, any misjudgment can quickly become dangerous. We've still managed to finish on time, though.
The team needed just 60 minutes to install the unexpected wall delivery. They immediately returned to their scheduled job. They still have to install 15 interior walls by the end of their shift in 5 hours. Otherwise, the next shift won't be able to start on the ceilings. Over the next few weeks, the team works around the clock on the giant pop-up construction. The high-rise building grows by a further 3 meters with every new story. The team's goal? To complete construction within the allotted 51 days, because the first of the occupants are due to move in shortly thereafter. Halftime. The 8th floor should be completed tomorrow. The team has 27 days left to build the 6 remaining stories. Right now, they're still on schedule, but the weather is starting to cause problems again. It's been snowing for several hours. The temperature is a chilly -8 degrees Celsius. Not only extremely uncomfortable, but dangerous too. The snow can cause the fresh concrete to freeze instead of hardening. This would lead to cracks forming later on. Because of this, shift foreman Andre checks his team's work especially carefully.
It's difficult at the moment due to the weather. We're making very slow progress because we have to keep clearing snow.
What's more, the taller the building gets, the further the team has to go to get to their workplace. And from now on, it's crucial they keep to the timetable. Because the next line of tradesmen are already moving their way up to the floors below. On the 7th floor, electricians are laying cables for the lights and electrical sockets. A floor below them, on the 6th floor, plumbers are connecting pipes for the cold and hot water in the prefabricated bathrooms. And a floor below them, teams of plasterers are putting the finishing touches to the walls. Any delay in erecting the new walls now causes a chain reaction. If the team above has problems, it will hold up all the subsequent work, like connecting up the water pipes in the bathrooms. And electricians can only lay cable in walls that have already been installed.
I don't usually have any issues, but things are always pretty hectic around here. Much more so than on a normal building site.
The installation ducts are already embedded in the wall panels. The electrician now pulls the cables for the lights and electrical sockets through them. 2.5 kilometers of cable per story. In the floors below, where the electricians, welders, and plumbers have already finished work, the plasterers follow. They have to fill several kilometers of joints between the sections per story. In Russia, it's a job traditionally performed by women, and the only job in the local construction industry in which women are represented. The big advantage of their job? It's warm. Huge space heaters have been set up to help the plaster dry quicker. Alexander Chuganovsky checks the work performed by the various teams several times a day.
The most important thing is that the pipes are securely connected. Now, I can send in the next team of workers to fill everything in.
Not only does the shell of the building have to be finished by the end of the 51 days, but the electrical systems have to be installed, and the plastering done too.
Next, I'll check how far the welder has gotten. And after that, I will check if he's done a decent job.
The plasters can only get started once the welder has finished. Outside, work continues despite the heavy snow. "30 truckloads of new panels arrive at the site each day. The workers have to unload and install them as quickly as possible, because the construction company's logistics concept will only work if the trucks are always on the move. The company operates several factories that build wall panels. This one has been manufacturing external walls for 60 years. Nearly 1,500 walls per week, which amounts to an impressive 75,000 walls per year. The sections are fabricated on assembly lines. They're currently working on wall sections for the balconies of the high-rise building. First, rebar is placed into the mold, designed with wall bricks. This lends stability to the walls, just like with a traditional structure. At the next station, the first layer of concrete is poured. This, too, is the same as the concrete used in the construction of conventional buildings. Production manager Igor Pavlov monitors the manufacturing process. The walls will only fit together properly later if the specified dimensions are adhered to exactly.
I've just checked the width of the wall. The first layer mustn't be more than 70 millimeters thick.
Insulating material is laid on top of the concrete for heat retention. A further layer of rebar is placed on top of that to provide extra stability. The final layer consists of coarse-grained concrete. This helps the plaster adhere to the walls later on.
The walls we make here meet the highest quality standards and will last up to 100 years.
After just 2 hours, the wall is almost finished. It's smoothed out before heading to the underground curing chamber. The walls are left to harden here for 5 hours at 52 degrees Celsius. The pre-cast sections are now given their finishing touches. Window panes are installed, for example. Then they're ready to be delivered. Back on the building site, the team is still struggling with the snow and freezing conditions. They have to be finished in 26 days. Their goal for today, to install the ceiling on the 8th floor and make a start on the 9th floor during the late shift. Before they begin, Deputy Construction Manager Alexander makes his daily tour of inspection.
I'm checking the pattern the bricks make and that everything matches. It has to create a particular pattern without any flaws. Mistakes do sometimes occur, unfortunately, so I always have to double check. I also check whether they all have the same color, and if everything has been filled properly, or whether some areas were forgotten.
In the worst case, they'll have to replace walls that have already been installed. The earlier they discover any mistakes, the less complicated this is to do. Above, the workers are dealing with the task of the missing section of ceiling. The roof panels are made from reinforced concrete as well. The installation process is similar to that used for the walls. They're glued together using concrete and then welded. A major advantage of prefab construction, all the work steps are the same. This saves a lot of time. The crane operator's experience is crucial when it comes to maneuvering the panels in place. The workers have to trust him with their fingers, literally.
We depend on the crane operator for pretty much everything we do. It's crucial that he remains completely focused at all times and controls the crane properly. All of the parts are extremely large and heavy. And of course, he mustn't damage anything under any circumstances, regardless of how tight things get. The panels have to be placed with centimeter precision. He has one of the most important jobs on the site. Without a good crane operator, things wouldn't work.
The crane operators, like the majority of the construction workers on this site, have been with the company since the start of their apprenticeships. In contrast with other building sites where cheap seasonal laborers are employed, this company knows that it takes an experienced crew to pull off a pop-up construction like this. Despite the worsening conditions, they make good progress with the roof. And by the end of their shift, the team has actually done it. The 8th floor is finished as planned, and the late shift can now get started with the 9th floor. This floor is supposed to be completed in just 3 days too, something that would take at least 3 weeks using conventional construction techniques.
Our system is very carefully thought out. We operate in 3 shifts: early, late, and night shift. There's a foreman responsible for each shift, and each worker has a specific job to do. Someone is responsible for performing every task, however small. This speeds up the process enormously. Everyone knows exactly what they have to do at all times. This prevents things from becoming chaotic.
And the system saves on manpower too. A shift here consists of just 7 installation workers. The second half of the construction phase. Despite the harsh Russian winter, the pop-up construction grows inexorably. Time is of the essence, though, because the acute housing shortage in Russia's capital is a hot political topic. 12 apartments with a total of 700 square meters of floor space are created every 3 days. The construction firm has just 6 days to go until handover. The team has finished all of the residential floors already and has made a start on the roof. The final challenge, the so-called mechanical floor on the rooftop. This is where the building services, like the ventilation, heating, and elevator systems will be installed. The team installs special wall elements with large openings in the middle. They then lay the cables and pipes through these. The openings simultaneously allow the air to circulate, thus preventing heat buildup under the roof. The height of the ceiling on the mechanical floor is just 1.5 meters. The external walls are twice as high, creating a fall protection barrier for the flat roof. This is a legal requirement for all high-rise buildings in Russia. For safety reasons, the technicians can only begin their work once the final section has been installed. The construction workers have to work flat out yet again. Fortunately, it has gotten warmer over the past few days, so they won't have to waste precious time clearing snow. Construction worker Sergei coordinates which walls the crane has to lift up next.
The next sections have arrived. They're the same as in the plan, so we can install them right away.
They have just 2 more days to install the wall and ceiling panels. Only if they succeed will the technicians be able to complete all the installation work on the mechanical floor by the deadline in 6 days' time. Apart from a few minor details, work on the interior is complete. The fire extinguishing system, heating pipes, and fresh water plumbing has been installed on all floors. Construction manager Asfan Sufyanov prepares to hand over the building site to its owners. He inspects every room in the 9,000 square meter building once again.
I'm now checking what still needs to be done.
Правильность. Штукатурки. Вертикальный, горизонтальный.
I'm looking to see whether everything is plastered properly
Герметизации.
and that there are no gaps left.
while the plasterers touch up the remaining imperfections in the interior. Workers on the roof are installing the first of the ceiling slabs.
Down. A bit more. A bit more.
The construction firm's workers install hundreds of precast panels each day at their various construction sites around Moscow.
The building is nearly finished. We have less than a week left. Everything went very well, as planned. In 2 weeks, we start work on the next building. And so it goes on. We move from one building to the next.
The construction firm is one of the largest and oldest in all of Russia. Since its foundation in 1961, the company's workers have constructed 57 million square meters of housing space, residential accommodation that is urgently needed in the growing capital. A final burst of activity on the mega building site. Finished at last, despite the problems with the delivery of the components, and even faced with the cold and stormy winter weather, the well-oiled team has managed to finish the gigantic pop-up construction in just 51 days. 3 times faster than for conventional construction projects.
We've actually pulled it off. Everything is finished. It all worked out great. I'm really pleased with my team. They've done a superb job. I hope the future occupants like it too, and that they enjoy living here.
As soon as the neighboring buildings are finished, the new occupants will be able to move in. All that was here a few weeks ago were the foundations. "30 laborers, all experts in their craft, have worked 51 days and 3 shifts, totaling 10,000 work hours, to erect the 14-story high-rise with nearly 9,000 square meters of floor space. They've installed over 1,500 panels, poured nearly 250 tons of concrete, and laid over 30 kilometers of cable in the process. A true pop-up construction.